Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. That's Joe Smith. Newcastle United 4, Manchester United 1. Another difficult afternoon for the Reds and another difficult afternoon for the goalkeeper. Although this time it was Ali Bayandé. Wasn't all on him though, because the game was lost before he made a mistake. But we said before the game, Joe, there were several things we didn't want to happen, right? I'm going to list them for you.
Go on.
One, we didn't want to get battered going into the Lyon game, because that's just going to deflate you even more. You're going into that game feeling a bit like confidence is at its lowest ebb and all the rest of it. Two, we didn't want any injuries. Yeah. You don't want any players who are going to feature on Thursday. I know there was a rotated squad today, a rotated team, but you didn't want any injuries to players that were likely to feature on Thursday. Yeah. And three, you don't want the keeper to make a massive howler or a series of howlers or whatever, because that way then you've still got this keeper headache that hasn't been solved in any fashion at all. And all three of those things happened. We got battered 4-1. Joshua Zirkzee, who's been decent recently, got injured, and it looks like it was his hamstring, so I cannot imagine he's going to be back for Thursday. So he was out. And then Ali Bayandé, who'd been a little bit shaky throughout the game, if we're being brutally honest, then kicks the ball straight to Joe Linton, who passes it to Bruno Guimaraes, who scores the fourth. I mean, just an awful afternoon in every respect for Manchester United.
Yeah, pretty shocking, wasn't it? And weirdly, a few of those mistakes we saw in the first 5 minutes. I think it was Garnacho and Dalot both slipping over on the wing.
Yeah.
And one of our goals came from Mazraoui slipping over. We saw just silly mistakes. Dalot letting Harvey Barnes just walk past him. Completely misread the run of Harvey Barnes and let him fly past him. We saw Bayandé making a couple of mistakes, and then the crucial one that led to their goal. Like you said, it was just the worst version of the game, wasn't it? Other than some sort of sickness bug being caught from the food at the stadium or whatever, it couldn't have got much worse. That really, Zirkzee getting injured. The goalkeeper headache has only got worse. It's not got any better. Although in a way, it basically frees him up to play Onana now, risk-free. He's almost got less questions now, because there's no point in playing Bayandé, because he doesn't look particularly good at shot stopping, and he gave the ball away on the edge of his own box once that wasn't punished, and a second time that was punished. So at least Onana can mostly play the ball out relatively safely. I know he's made a couple of mistakes on that front as well this season, but I fully expect Onana to be back in for the Lyon game. But what it doesn't do, it answers the question, but it doesn't give you the answer that you want. What you want is a fucking brilliant performance from Bayandé that goes, actually, get him in. Yeah. And instead it's, the keeper that isn't very good, but we probably know is our best keeper, he's got to play.
Yeah.
Awful. I mean, there were some decent spots. I thought that for decent chunks of the first half, we actually looked all right. The first 20 minutes or so, I thought we played well. And there was a point where we were having more possession. We had more shots than Newcastle. And then they got their goal. And basically, I know we scored after them, but basically from that moment on, they were the better side. And in the second half, they got that goal 3 minutes into the second half, and we never looked like touching them after that. I don't think we even made a chance after that, which again is just poor. And I know, again, Newcastle are a good side, and we had Ethan on the watch along, but they're not that good. They're not like, I don't know, we just couldn't really get near them second half. And it's so embarrassing that whenever we play a high-pressing, hard-working side, we can't really get near them. There's still a massive lack of athleticism in the team, a massive lack of application at times in the team. And I think as well, we know that our league campaign is done. They're still fighting for top 4, top 3 even potentially. But you just, like you said, you just didn't want this to be the audition for the game on Thursday, when no one has really put themselves in the shop window. And actually, we're going to have to revert back to the goalkeeper that is going through the worst time in his career, because the alternative might be even worse. Yeah. Just a rough day completely.
It was. We'll get into some of the comments as well, then I want to come back at you with a couple more questions. Joel has been a member of the Academy 44 months, says, marry me, Ethan, and stay with Stretford Paddock. There's an offer you can't refuse. Ken O'Grady says, without a doubt, the worst United squad team, whatever the fuck this is, in my 50 years as a supporter. No argument the worst. He then also says, and we ain't winning any bloody Europa League either. Ross Murphy, who obviously does the moderating here, says, everything we didn't want today happened. BMW Racing 1974 says, last time I saw us play Newcastle at Old Trafford, we beat them 4-1. Alex Davies says, time for Tom Heaton to have a go, I guess. I want to just talk about some positives, because I'm not completely and utterly deluded. This was an awful afternoon where almost everything that can go wrong did. However, one bright spark was Harry Amas. I thought he did quite well. His full debut. Give him credit. 18-year-old, just turned 18-year-old, coming into this Manchester United team. I hasten to add, and he did quite well. Give him some credit. Garnacho got his goal and took it quite well. A player that has been struggling, hasn't been in the best of form. Those are the positives. We'll get them out of the way and we'll move on. That's it.
I think the Garnacho one is I want to talk about Amas separately, but I think the Garnacho one is an important one because he will play on Thursday.
Yeah.
And those are the types of goals and the types of positions he hasn't been converting from recently. So if there is one bright spark, I mean, Amas is a separate bright spark because he's one for the future.
Yeah.
He's not going to play on Thursday.
No.
I think we were
Dorgu
resting of course. But Garnacho will be playing, and his woes in front of goal have gotten pretty sort of silly almost in recent weeks of, missing chances, bad lays off to his teammates, shooting when he should pass, passing when he should shoot. He got in a good position and he finished a difficult chance today with his weak foot. That was really good. And if he gets an extra 5% confidence just from that, then maybe all of this will have been worth it. Obviously, we're looking very much on the bright side here, but someone who actually will play on Thursday did something that had been struggling to do recently. That's a good thing. Amas is a separate case because he ain't playing Thursday, but he might get more minutes between now and the end of the season. And based on that performance, I think he should. Mostly, or should I say largely, he just did the right thing at the right time. There was nothing that was hugely outstanding, but he did have one little bit of dribbling in the first half near the halfway line where he kind of took the ball and shifted it from one foot to the other. Got past a couple of Newcastle players and set us off in a counter-attack. I thought he actually looked a bit like Luke Shaw the way he did that. His sort of body, the way he controlled his body and he shifted the ball, I thought looked really good. Other than that, like I said, it was largely just sort of doing the right thing without looking hugely amazing. But that's what you want from a debut. And he's only just turned 18. He's a very young kid. To not look embarrassed. And let's not forget, it's the other wing-back who's played 40-odd games or 50-odd games for United in the last 12 months. He's the one who made the mistake for a goal. He's the one who got completely skinned by Harvey Barnes. The kid on the other side, Harry Amas, didn't do anything like that. So really strong and really positive full debut from him because he could have easily got twisted inside out by Murphy or Trippier or any number of players, and he didn't. So fair play to him.
Definitely. I don't want that to go under the radar there. A couple of people said about Harry Amas as well. Ryan Belmont, who's been a member of the academy for 20 months, says, just hoping we give Ruben the time and players needed. We knew this was a write-off of a season from January. Hopefully Europa throws us a lifeline. Fingers crossed for Europa, man. Dwayne Molander says, Uncle Heaton is always ready, just the right basics. John Siplin says, are we still pretending the players that have been here since Ole aren't just abject cowards and lack professionalism? Desu no Satoreke says, nothing shocking about it anymore. I think this is in reference to our title. Asim Hans says, Ten Hag has destroyed this club with his poor recruitment and the contract extensions. We are just reaping the results. DB Cooper says, Ruben has adopted a child that was raised by adult maniacs before, and now he's supposed to teach it discipline. How much do you put down to just what Amorim's inherited here, and how much do you put on this manager not getting the best out of it? Do you think it's all just what he's inherited, and he's almost blameless in really this current situation, or do you think he's got to take some of the blame because we are bottom half of the table and nothing's really improved since he left, since he come in?
Obviously, he's got to take some of the blame because he's there and no one else is. So if I was United's manager, I would take some of the blame. If Fergie came back, he would take some of the blame, and he's the manager, so he can't be blameless. But I also think that there are other managers that we could have brought in that would have won a lot more points in the meantime than he has up until now. And I think not just a few managers, I think there's a lot of managers. I think we could have brought Solskjaer back in, and I genuinely think between when he came in and now, I think he would have won more points than Amorim. But that doesn't set you up for the long term. No. Having a new manager bounce isn't indicative of long-term success. We've had new manager bounces. Ten Hag finished third and won a trophy in his first season. Obviously, Solskjaer still holds the record, I think, for most points in the first 12 games of a managerial career in the Premier League. I think Slot got close and didn't actually beat him this season. But they're not here anymore, and they didn't work out long-term. So I'm not saying because we're crap, that means Amorim will work out, because that's sort of backwards logic and being, pure copium, as the kids say. But I do think that just because it's been bad doesn't mean he was the wrong guy or that he should take all of the blame. He's trying to do things differently. He's trying to instill a more modern way of playing. He's trying to work out which of his players are good enough and which aren't. And a lot of them, I don't think any system in the world means that your front four players in Xerxes, front three, Xerxes, Garnacho and Højlund, I think they've scored about 5 goals between them since he came in what would be a combined 50 games. no system in the world should stop your attackers scoring goals like that. And we've massively underachieved on XG. We've scored 23 goals less than Tottenham. Is Ange Postecoglou a far better coach than Amorim in terms of getting goals? I'm not sure that he is. He's not got as good a CV as Amorim. I just think that our players in certain areas aren't good enough, and that wouldn't have changed regardless of whether we got a new manager bounce from someone else or not. And if anything, at least now we know, with a real sort of blank canvas, who should be here next season and who shouldn't, who we can rely on and who we can't. And if they back him properly and use the information that we've gathered from this little experiment, rather than going, actually, shit, let's get rid of him, they go, we know what's wrong with Man United, let's fix it, let's get better players, then we can be successful. But yeah, it's been absolutely awful, and I don't think it could have been much worse, to be in all honesty.
No, this is it. There's so much pressure now on this game on Thursday, and there's so much pressure on the Europa in general. Even if we get past Lyon, which isn't a given, that if we don't win that, then it's soul destroying, because that's going to affect your transfer budget next season, because you won't have Champions League football. Yeah. It's going to affect the calibre of players as well you can attract, because some of them won't want to play for a club that doesn't have Champions League football. It's going to affect the amount of, maybe just the mindset of Ineos towards Ruben Amorim, even some of the players. Because players don't like losing football matches. I know that's the most obvious statement that anyone's ever made, but there might come a point where some of the players, because we've seen these players do it before with almost, every manager that they played under at United, where they go, is this guy the right guy? Does he know what he's doing? Yeah. I hope it doesn't come to that, and I'm not saying it should, but that's my biggest concern. However, I think if you get into the Champions League, everything's just lifted. Everyone's like, oh, you know what? We've won a trophy, a European trophy. We're in the Champions League. Got that to look forward to next season. A little bit more budget, bring in some more players. Let's get a bit of positivity going. I think the big thing now, though, is we've backed this manager in terms of, we backed him, but we know his system. The reason he's been brought in is because he's going to play this way. We have to stick with that. Let him play this way. Let him bring in the players for this system. Because if you let him bring in the players for the system and get rid of him, you're back to square one. It's going to be like we did when we went from, from Van Gaal to Jose? Yeah. And he was like, well, I don't want half these players you've got. Get rid of him. And then Ollie comes in and he's like, well, I don't want Sanchez. I don't really fancy Lukaku. I know he played him for a bit and then he got rid of him. You're just going to have to do that same thing again, aren't you, of getting rid of the players the previous managers brought in for the new manager. It makes no sense. Alpha Omega says Europa will be ours. Kashiti Kaushik says, guys, obviously the game was a shambles, but with Amorim, I don't feel scared of being taken apart by other teams like I was with Ten Hag. But yeah, that bald fraud screwed us with his recruitment. T Mills says, Roy Keane saying it's the players' fault. Roy Keane's been very, very consistent with that, and he's been saying that about this. I don't say
10 years.
This group of players. I think he's been saying it when it was hardly any of these players were at the club. When it was sort of post Fergie into sort of Moyes era almost. He was like, these players will throw every manager under the bus. Or maybe a bit later than that. I think he said it about Mourinho, didn't he? The Mourinho era. I mean, look, I get it. I get you look at the players. I get you look at the manager. I get you look at the goalkeeper. I get you look at almost everything, don't you? Look at the recruitment. You look at the previous manager. You look at what is going on. But ultimately, there's no real excuse for being as low as we are in the league. The players have to take some responsibility. The manager has to take some responsibility. And the people that have got us into this situation have to take some responsibility. The shining light is you've got an opportunity to fix it of sorts in doing something in the Europa, whereby you can go, okay, I know we've had more resets than anyone, but let's reset in the summer, get the players in. And that's why Thursday is so important. Hands up for the Panther. Says, wish the best and farewell for Ethan, but some Newcastle fans this is the best day ever. Laugh at us, sad and arrogant. You said to him he's an F1 race with a stagecoach. Meanwhile, fans say Amorim out. I know on social media there will be a lot of people that have fuming with Amorim, and that's just the nature as well with it. And there will be people, not just on social media, there'll be people that go to the games who are probably, questioning him and stuff. But I just feel that this manager needs to be given some time, and I don't think, what's it been so far? Is it 6 months? It is enough time. We've had one window. We brought in Aidan Heaven, who then gets injured despite showing some good signs. Patrick Dorgu as well. I think if you give him a summer window, let him get some more players in, there's a chance that, a good chance this man can get things right.
I'm worried though that there's more and more riding on this summer window. That it's getting to the point where we need a perfect summer window for Amorim not to just slide into insignificance in 12 months. Because, we're going to get people like Liam Delap, What's he got? 11 goals for Ipswich. I know Ipswich is
12,
shit.
I think.
12 goals, okay. 12 league goals for Ipswich, which is okay.
So.
He looks like a good player, and I think he could be, go on to be a really good player in the right environment. We're going to get 30, 40, 45 million pound players. How many of them are available that can take you from being where we are to being a really good side? Are there enough of them, and will we get all of them? Like, I'm worried that we're going to have such a perfect, fine-tuned summer transfer window for Amorim not to just be thrown on the scrap heap in 8 months. Like, there's so much riding on this window now because it's been so bad that almost all that initial goodwill of like, he's coming in, he's doing things differently, that'll be gone by the summer. Usually get your first full season with that still intact. With Amorim, I don't know. I think that this window has to be perfect. And that's my worry, is that we're going to be sat here in 12 months' time in a similar situation, but with a different manager, because we keep getting it wrong. I mean, it's a massive, massive summer for Ineos.
I only hope as well that if next season we start off and we're okay, let's say we start off next season and we're around 6 or 7, people go, okay.
Yeah.
That's acceptable because of where we're coming from, because of the time it's going to take. I hope people don't think, when I say people, I mean Ineos, don't think we buy a few players and then that's it, now you should be challenging top 4. It might take a little bit longer than that. It might take, another couple of transfer windows. Just get us moving up that table. We just need to see some progression. Someone, I think it was Ethan on the watch along, mentioned Arteta. Now Arteta bought himself some time because of that FA Cup win, but then he went through a difficult period, didn't he? Was it 8th and 5th, I think, his first 3 seasons. But there was things going on behind the scenes. There was things going on where he was moving on certain players. I think Aubameyang eventually moves on, Mesut Ozil moves on. Younger players are coming through. You can see there's a different atmosphere. The players are believing in what he's trying to do. He's bringing a new system. He's bringing in a new sort of way of recruiting players as well. And he was backed big time in the transfer window, let's not forget. I think he spent about 600 million quid on his watch. So I just feel that if things behind the scenes and if there is progress on the pitch, just might be slow, but if there is progress, that should be enough for this board and these people in charge to go, okay, Ruben Amorim knows what he's doing. I hope so. Anyway, Pedro Storm said, hang on a minute. He says, who's our worst player today? I mean, you could pick a load of them, to be honest with you. I don't even want to get into that, to be honest with you, because it feels a bit... Loads of them were that bad. It feels a bit unfair. Dwayne Melander says, with Xerxes and Bruno... With Xerxes out, Bruno has to back in the 10 for Europa or maybe false 9. I'm putting all my chips on Bruno for the rest of the season. I mentioned that on a watch along. Maybe could we do like we did in the Manchester derby where he was the false 9? Is it something like that, or do you go with Rasmus Højlund where Rasmus Højlund came on today? He was okay, I thought. I think he did a lot, but he didn't do a lot wrong. He just didn't get much of the ball. I don't think that's changed my opinion of Rasmus Højlund and what he's been like this season. We're going to wrap it up there. Thank you to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. Stephen Sarson actually says, only bright moments of the afternoon came from the goal and watching Hamas. And now I've just lost that. Sorry. And he said something about Luke Shaw as well.
Good to see him back. Good to get a few minutes.
Sorry there, Stephen. I lost your... oh, there it is. Sorry. Watching Hamas. I don't want to drag Shaw back from the dead. It's time to bury some of these players.
Blimey. Not where I thought that was going.
I know that was a plot twist, wasn't it? Yeah. Listen, we'll see. It's all about Thursday anyway. Don't worry about the league. No one cares about that. Let them Muppets in Liverpool win it. No one's bothered. It's all about the Europa League. That's Thursday night under the lights. That's where we'll be. Stick around. I'm going to get reaction from Stephen Housen and Andy Tate as well. If you've not done so already, make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That's Joe Smith. You can go and check him out on the Sloppy Joe's podcast. You know where to find me. I'm Jay Marty. This has been review Manchester United. Another disappointing result at St James's. Thanks for watching.